Hey everybody, this is Becky from A Good Enough Girl, and I'm coming to you with a little bit of a different podcast today. I am just a few days out from going to Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle, and it starts this Friday, August 8th, with some classes, and Saturday and Sunday will be classes and the vendor marketplace as well. And it's the third annual event. But what I wanted to focus on first was just general, if you're going to go to a fiber festival or some sort of a big event, especially a yarny one like we like to enjoy, I wanted to give you some tips and some tricks and things that you should be prepared for anytime you're going in case you're either going to Flock for the first time or if you're going to get ready to go to Rhinebeck in the fall or something like that. Especially if you've never been, these are some really helpful tips that I hope will make your experience so much better. So we'll start with that. We'll talk a little bit specifically about Flock, so I'll let you know when we're transitioning so you don't have to stick around and listen to all the silly Flock stuff if you're not going to go, and I don't want to give you FOMO, so I'll let you know when that time is up. I am enjoying a cup of tea today, which is a huge departure from my regular filming. It is about 9 o'clock at night on Monday, August 8th. And so I'm in the evening, so I'm having a cup of decaf black tea, and it's really a basic, literally Trader Joe's. It said decaffeinated black tea. That was it. So a little stevia and a little milk in there. So I'm jumping on the knitters bandwagon tonight. And I'm also enjoying a little treat. I believe it's a lemon raspberry bar from my friend Kim. So Kim, in addition to being a crocheter and just awesome all around human being, is an amazing baker. So if you haven't tested any of her things out, go check her out on Kim's Cookie Crumbles on Instagram, and you can enjoy some of the beautiful things that she's making. And this was just one of her trials. And I'm lucky enough to live not too far away, so I get to enjoy some of her treats. So we'll just enjoy a little bit of that. Pardon me while I enjoy that. All right, so let's get started on Flock. So if you're going to any fiber festival, the ones I've been to have been Fiber Fusion in Monroe, Washington. I've been to Flock before. This year, I'm planning to go to Knit City, Vancouver. So that's gonna be happening, gosh, I guess it's next month now. So in September, I'll be going to Knit City, Vancouver. And I'm also going to SacredSheep in Oregon. So I'm trying to kind of start expanding my breadth outside of Seattle a little bit and stay in the Northwest and go see some great spots, meet some new vendors, go see some of my yarny friends as I travel around. I know I'll be seeing my friend Genevieve up in Vancouver, and my friend Angela is coming to Flock, and she's Yarn Church on YouTube, and I'll link her below. But so she's going to be at Flock, but she's also going to be at SacredSheep because she lives down in the Portland area. So we're going to get to hang out a couple of times in this fall, and I'm really excited about that. So let's get started on tips. If you're going to be going to a fiber festival, here's what you should be prepared for. So pack your patience pants. And I say that for everywhere you go. Pack your patience pants. Wear your patience pants because you're going to need patience. There's always a line somewhere, whether it's to get into the venue, to get a snack or a cup of coffee later in the afternoon, or if you want to actually meet somebody, one of your favorite YouTubers, there's often a line. And a lot of the vendors will often have lines kind of creeping out of their booths depending on the size of their booth. And a lot of them, there's so many wonderful things that you're going to want to hit all of them. So I'm going to give you some tips for that. So patience pants, number one. So what you should be bringing to these is, let's start with what you need to do before you go. First thing, buy your tickets ahead. It's super important that you actually buy your tickets ahead, so you're not delayed in that line waiting to get in. You have your tickets, you're ready to walk through and go. So you can buy those online. And I know for a lot of fiber festivals, if it's a multi-day, you can buy a multi-day pass or just the one day. For Flock, I'm going on Saturday and Sunday this year. And last year I just went on Saturday. So this year I'm kind of increasing my attendance. You also need to plan your strategy, plan how you're going to get there, plan who you want to see for sure, and do some research to find out maybe some of the exclusives and specials and things like that that will be at the event that you might like to make sure that you stop and see. So those are the ahead of time. So I have been spending this week doing a lot of research, which was not horrible because it's basically looking at beautiful yarn on Instagram. And so that's been a fantastic week of research. So once you're ready to go, you figured out how you're going to get there. I always depending on where you live, public transit is probably one of the best ways to get to these festivals. Just make sure you bring a big carry bag or maybe a wheelie cart or something like that to put all your treasures into. But it's way easier, depending on where these events are, to avoid really bad traffic and parking, especially in city centers. Parking can really be a bear. And so Flock is going to happen at the Seattle Summit Convention Center. So it's kind of an offshoot of the main convention center, but it is still right downtown. And there's some parking and stuff like that, but I find it's way faster and easier to actually take the bus, which is an express, and just walk up the hill for about 3 minutes to get there. So you got your tickets, you're ready to go. You figured out who your homies are, who are you going to take with you, who are you going to hang out with, who do you want to see, who do you want to meet. Any of your favorite YouTubers going to be there? I'll be there at Flock, so I'd love for you to come say hi, no matter where I am. So pop in, say hi. It would make me feel amazing to know that there's actually people that are out there watching me. So thank you to you who are out there right now. And then, so what you're going to bring with you, you're going to want to make sure you have some reusable bags, because you do want to not depend on the vendors for having bags. I know that stuff costs them a lot of money. And I know if you're like me, you have a whole bunch of reusable bags at home. So bring a couple of those, just tuck them into your tote bag, and you'll be ready for a little heavy shop or a light shop, depending on what you plan to do, or even no shop. You're going to want to have some bags just if you get any swag, or if you are taking a class, you're going to have some things to take home. So it's good to have an extra bag or two with you. Also, make sure you have water and snacks, because you will get hungry. You will probably get hangry after not too long. And it's really nice to actually have some snacks and something to tide you over as you're walking. There's over 100 booths. So you're going to do some walking, you're going to spend some time. And so make sure you have a snack, make sure you have your water bottle. Seattle's really great about water stations. So no doubt there'll be places to refill a water bottle once you go through the first one. You'll obviously want a credit card or an Apple Pay or something like that for either if you're going to get food or snacks or a coffee, or if you do find some delicious yarn or some other notions or some beautiful wool wash or something that you really feel like you need to take home with you. Credit cards are typically the best way to do that, simply because it takes a lot less time than doing any cash transactions, and some places actually are no cash, as our world is kind of evolving away from cash. I always have cash with me, but I don't bring a ton because I probably won't use it. Also, bring a power bank for your phone, for your devices, whatever it is that you'll be using, because if you are using your phone to tap to pay, you want to make sure that you have that thing still working. If you want to look something up on a website because there's no room to get into a booth, you can actually go step aside, go look for the base that you want or the color that you want, and so that way you're more specific when you get into the booth. It's just really nice to make sure that you have enough power to do what you want to do with your phone. I believe they have Wi-Fi, as free Wi-Fi. So that'll make it easier for you to make sure you can connect. And I used to be the kid that I never wanted people to use my data because it cost me money. I have unlimited data now, but it's never a bad idea to use someone else's Wi-Fi if they're offering it. But do remember that is not as secure as if you were actually using your own wireless data. So keep that in mind if you're going to be entering credit card numbers or something like that. And my other tip for what to bring, it might make sense to bring a pair of flip-flops or comfy sandals or something like that, because after you've been walking for a while, and if your shoes are not comfortable for some reason, or your feet are fatigued and tired, sometimes it's nice to slip your shoes off and put a nice pair of flip-flops on, or a sandal or something like that, where your feet can actually kind of get out, breathe a little bit, and they'll feel a lot better. And I know we're all knitters and we all smell divine. We smell like wool and lanolin. So why wouldn't you want to take your shoes off, right? So I'm probably going to consider bringing some flip-flops for myself this year. And what to wear. So as you know, you're going to a wool and yarn festival. So there will be so many beautiful options of knits that you'll be able to look at, see. People are wearing them. There's samples all over in the booths as well. So make sure you bring your knits, wear your knits. Whether you've only knit a pair of socks, wear your pair of socks. If you've only knit a headband, wear that. And I know last year I only had one wearable piece of knitted clothing, and so I wore that one thing and I got a lot of compliments on it, which was really kind of nice because it was a very basic starting pattern, but it had a really nice look to it, and it was nice to be recognized for work that I had done. So wear your knits. Those are always really, really fun. I suggest bringing maybe a shawl, a wrap, a sweater, a light sweater, or something like that, because you will be inside. And I don't remember getting cold last year at all. There's a lot of people in there, but it is a really big space with very high ceilings. And so it could get pretty cold if you lean towards that. I'm never cold, so I don't typically need that kind of thing. And plus I'll have pretty yarn to wrap myself up in, so who needs a sweater? I'll just lay in my bag of goodies. But yeah, do bring a shawl or something like that. Plus it looks really cool, especially if it's one that you made and you want to show it off. So that's a great option. Let's see. When you get there, if you are a morning coffee or tea drinker and you're drinking that beverage, try to get it finished before you actually get in the door to the Fiber Festival, because you want these hands free so you can touch and squeeze and grab everything that meets your fancy. So finish that beverage, recycle or throw away your cup, or even better, bring your own reusable cup, and then you can just get another coffee later in the afternoon and didn't have to waste any paper or plastic. So finish your beverage before you go in. Know that there's going to be a line when you get there pretty much any time. I know with flock, it tends to lighten up kind of as the day goes on. So once you get past like 11, it tended to be a much lighter line. And so if you are willing to wait a little bit longer and you hate lines, that's maybe a chance to go a little bit later. And when you get there, so have your plan, know what you want to do, have your map, know where you're going to go. And so Flock they've already published, they have this beautiful map that tells, it's really, really small, but it tells you where the vendors are. And there's a list of them. They're in alphabetical order, and it tells you their booth number. So like if you want to know where 360 Dye Studio is, you go into 360 Dye Studio, it's the very first thing. And you go to number 63 and you look at the map and you're like, okay, so 63 is going to be right over here-ish. And so you'll know you come in here and you'll go straight back and to the right. And there's, you don't need to know where the restrooms are. You need to know where the snacks are. At Flock specifically, they will have some food vendors, not very many. So be prepared that, I'll talk specifically about that, but they don't have a ton of food options inside the convention center where you will be. So basically figure out where you want to go, have your plan, have your strategy. If there's stuff that you know are exclusive to just this event and they're limited edition, maybe that's where you start your day and then kind of wind your way through instead of binging across all over to go to different things. Have a strategy of how you want to go around the convention center and hit all the booths that you really want to see. So you have your plan. Head to the merch table early. Most yarn festivals have some sort of merchandise that you can buy, tote bags, project bags, t-shirts, things like that. And they often do either sell out or they might just have limited supplies once you get there. So go there first, get what you want. I think Flock had said that they're going to do a better job of having more inventory. And so they're not planning to do any post orders. So basically whatever they have for Flock is done. They did do a pre-order in, I think it was like April, and to get your merch for Flock, which I did. I actually got mine ahead of time because I was really bummed I didn't get those cute sheep last year. So I did get my Flock Fiber Festival. There's my big old bag right there. And so you can see the really cool design. And this is actually an incredible tote bag. So it has, it's a really, really thick canvas. I mean, it's sturdy. The handles are really nicely woven. It's got a strong zipper at the top. And inside is a cavern to put your beautiful yarns in right there. Look at that. So you could put a lot in this bag. So this will be coming with me on my arm. And it also has a kind of a smaller envelope pocket in the inside. So it's a pretty good tote. It's even called the Enviro tote, which is nice to know. Let's see if that means anything special. Made in the US. It doesn't tell us what it means to be the Enviro tote, but I'm assuming it helps the environment because you're not using extra materials. And it does feel like it's cotton, like a really strong cotton. So that's a good for the environment product. All right, so go to the merch table first. You're gonna wanna make sure you get everything that you had your mind on. All right, so you need your map, you need your merch, and when you've done that, so that's probably a great place to start. I know last year the merch table was, when you came in, it was off to the right, so it's probably gonna be somewhere around there as well. I didn't check my map because I got my merch already, so that's not on my plan. If you're taking a class, so if you're coming to any fiber festival and you're taking a class, get there early so you know that where you need to check in, because it could be not the same place as where you where the entrance was. So make sure you have give yourself at least 15 minutes or so to kind of find where you're checking in, where the classroom is, and get there and get settled in. And sometimes I know like you have to do knit 6 rows of 20 stitches to get things started for the class. So make sure that you're ready, you're prepared. If you have homework for one of your classes, they should have told you ahead of time. Make sure you do the homework, because if you're like me and you don't, you'll be behind most of the time. So I took a Sari Nordland cable class and I didn't have my rows cast on and ready to go. And I actually had to leave the classroom for a second and come back. So I was behind for a lot of that class. So do your homework, get ready, and stay in the classroom once you get there, because you'll miss stuff if you don't. All right. And then it's really important that you enjoy these festivals. That's the only reason we go. We go for fun, we go for community, and we go to kind of just fill up our buckets and to make ourselves remind us of the community that we're part of and remind us how amazing this community is. And so make sure you take time to chill out, sit around, soak everything in, and maybe do some knitting. If you, hopefully you brought yourself a project. I should have mentioned that earlier. Bring a project of some sort that is very easy social knitting. It's not anything you have to read patterns or do lace work or anything like that. Something that you can literally do almost without looking at it, because you will be socializing. You'll probably be meeting lots of people that some of your new besties on Instagram, but you'll actually get to meet them in person. And so I'm very much excited about that portion and meeting a lot of the podcasters and YouTubers that I've been watching. And hopefully they're watching me, and so we'll get a chance to meet each other in person. So do take the breaks, plan time to chill out with your friends, and that goes for anywhere you go. When there's going to be something that's really busy and jam-packed, make sure you do plan those break times in so you can actually enjoy it and not just go home and feel like you are burnt out because you went so hard. So give yourself a break. So that's kind of the basics. So what to bring the essentials, bring some food, bring some snacks, some water, and credit cards, power banks, all that stuff. And then also plan time to chill. If there's anybody you want to meet with in person, maybe reach out to them, send them a direct message or send them an email if they're a YouTuber, and just say, hey, I'd love a chance to meet you when we're at Flock this week. Where would be a good place? I know there's a couple of meetups happening. I know Nitty Natty, if you know her, she is hosting one, I believe at 1:30 on Saturday in the lobby. So where we check in and register. So she's going to be there to meet. And she has a fellow podcaster she's going to be joining to do that. And so that's a great opportunity to meet somebody that you maybe watch a lot and you feel like you're friends already, but they just don't know it yet. So actually make them your friend and go say hi. So go say hi to Nitty Natty. And then also who I just watched somebody today Michelle Frizzetti from Mishi Fraz Knits. She's going to be doing a 2 o'clock to 2:30 meetup at the base of the stairs. So when you're in the convention center, when you register off to the right, there's a huge wooden staircase. It's just really a beautiful Northwestern kind of staircase. And so she's planning to meet there. And I also had a meetup time, and I'm considering, so I think what I'll do is I'll just basically say at 2:30 on the steps, I'll be there chilling out, knitting, having a snack, enjoying myself, getting off my feet for a little bit. And so if anybody's out there watching and they'll be there and they'd love to kind of come over and say hi, I would love that. If not, I will sit and knit and hang out. My daughter's going to be with me, so you get a chance to meet her. So she and I will just be sitting and knitting and having a great time, and we'd love to meet you if anybody out there would love to stop by. So that'll be at 2:30 on the stairs in the Summit Convention Center. So you'll know the stairs when you get there. They're pretty obvious and easy to see. All right, so specifics. So this is basically, that's kind of my whole, if you're gonna go to a festival, what to be ready for. Now I'm gonna talk specifically about stuff that I know about Flock. And then I'm actually gonna go through, I have written down a whole list of a bunch of the vendors and some of their either exclusives or their brand new debuts that are coming to Flock. So buckle in, because that's a lot, and I will have to definitely list that below in the show notes. So here we go. Specifics for Flock. I know for food, there are 2 food stations inside the convention center where all of the marketplace is, and they have, I think it was 2. I was disappointed in the selection. It's not a huge variety of stuff, but they do have stuff. So if you need a grab and go snack or something, like they even had some hot foods. And then they said they're going to have a coffee cart. So there'll be a coffee cart in the morning downstairs. So if you need that caffeine fix while you're waiting in line, hit that coffee cart up. Also, they do have, so this Summit Convention Center has a couple of like restaurants and a bar that are actually inside downstairs. And there's a little tiny food court that's kind of outside of on kind of like the slope where the stairs are, but outside. And I know they have a pierogi, and there's a little coffee stand that's out there, and there's a couple of other food places too. So if you don't like the options inside, go outside. There is also now a Voodoo Donuts, which you can actually see from the convention center up the hill. So if you go past, there's a Paramount Theater right across the street. If you go up the hill past that, you'll see the Voodoo Donuts up there on your right. So if you're feeling like a little something like a grape ape, or you need some other delicious donut, they're right up the hill. And so I mentioned that getting there is something that you should be preparing for. And so for me, the bus is the best way. I live on the east side of Seattle, so I live over a lake across from Seattle. And we have to pay tolls to cross the bridge, and I have to pay for parking. And so I decided that's not worth it. I'd rather pay $6 for a round trip fare on the bus. And the bus picks me up in Redmond and takes me straight to basically just down at the corner of the convention center. So I just have to go to the other corner to get to the inside. So that's going to be mine. I think it's the 545 bus. If you're looking for it, it's an express route. So really simple, really easy. You get the same bus near the same area to go back home. So it is pristine transit. Also, obviously, you can get an Uber or a Lyft or something like that, so you don't have to deal with parking. But typically, Seattle can be a little jammed up and crowded, so make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time for that kind of transit. There are public parking lots around. I know there's one that's like right across from the main convention center that's not too far of a walk. So you can park there. I think it's like $12 a day. And so there are options for parking around there. I don't know if there's a play going on later in the day. It probably won't be too busy in the morning, but it will start getting busy later in the afternoon and filling up. So prepare for that. There's probably going to be no street parking. So street parking is going to be, don't plan on it. You'll need to pay for parking somewhere. You can also go to, I think, the mall, Westlake Center. I think there's some lower price parking there, and you can take the bus from there or even walk from there is an option. And if you're coming from north or south of Seattle, you can take the light rail train in, and it'll drop you off at Westlake Center, and you'll be really close. And so that's a great option as well. So transit, I highly recommend getting someone else to take you there, and so you don't have to park and deal with all that. It is a little, when you're done and you're tired, you have all your stuff, it's a little bit a little more taxing on your system. But if you've taken breaks throughout the day, I find that the transit home, it's 30 minutes and it's actually not too bad. And worst comes to worst, you can just, if you get a seat, you sit down and take a nap. All right. And specific things to Flock. So I heard some really cool things as I've been reading their website. So here's some specific special things that you should be paying attention to at Flock. So number one, there's going to be Flock Talks each afternoon. So basically there's going to be, I think her name is Jennifer. She's going to be doing some interviews with a lot of the teachers, designers, and during their off time, so when they're not teaching classes. So starting on Saturday afternoon around noon, I think Candace English from Farmer's Daughter Fiber is going to be the first person they're going to talk to. And these are free. So these talks, you can just kind of cop a squat, find a place to chill, sit down, and learn some really cool stuff about some really cool people, some great techniques, and just some of the influencers that we pay attention to and listen to. And maybe we'll learn some stuff we didn't know before. So I'm really excited for those. So starting at noon through the afternoon on Saturday, and I believe the Sunday one starts at about 11 o'clock until about 2:30. So just sit there, enjoy, soak everything. I didn't even know these things were happening last year. I was in the space and I didn't know. And they were literally, so if you're looking at the map and over here is the vendors market, you come in right here, and more vendors. Over here to your right on the far end is actually a small stage, and they had a bunch of chairs there, and I didn't even clue into the fact that they were gonna have people sitting there and talking. So take advantage of those, watch some of the flock talks. So most of the instructors will be interviewed during that. So that's a great opportunity to see them kind of in person and get their actual in-person vibe, which is nice. They're going to host a designer table. So it'll be an opportunity for you to go actually meet with designers of some of the patterns that you've seen, you've been interested in, or you'd like to try. So they'll be rotating different designers at that designer table, and it is in the marketplace. So it's going to be right in the center of everything. So you shouldn't have a hard time finding that. They also have a community weaving project. So if you have woven before or you've never woven before, they actually have someone's going to be there with weaving. And we're going to be creating a community piece, basically. And so you're welcome to go over there and weave a few, I don't even know what they're called, a few, because I would call them either rounds or rows, and probably rows, a few rows of yarn into this beautiful piece that everyone is going to work on. And so that'll be kind of something that is built for the community by the community. And so that's going to be really, really cool. And I love the idea of actually learning how to weave without having to set anything up. And so that I'll be finding a way to get to. There's also going to be spinning wheel repair. So if you do drive in or you have a very portable wheel and you have an issue, they'll be able to help you fix it. They also will have some supplies and tools that will be available for sale. And so that's a really great benefit for some of us who we love to play with fiber and we love to spin. So make sure you, if you have a spinning wheel that needs some help or some little TLC, bring it and they'll be there to help you with it. So I think that's awesome. And finally, there will be a wine bar. So they this year are adding a wine bar. So it's in the marketplace, so you don't even have to leave. So as you're walking around, you can actually be enjoying your beverage, talking to people, and keeping it very social. One thing to pay attention to is please don't spill the wine on anybody's fiber. Yarn, tables. So make sure you're being very respectful with your beverage, no matter what you're drinking. And that's probably a good thing to kind of not be shopping while holding the wine, but that's just me because I spill everything. And so if I have wine, I'll spill it on something. And inevitably it'll be red wine on this beautiful, like natural fiber that just sucks up the color. And so it will be, maybe they call it wine stain. And then I'd have to buy it because I created wine stain all by myself. All right. So those are kind of my tips and special things for flock specifically. Now, let me get my big old list. I've been researching for the last week and a half on Instagram to see what people are going to be doing. And so I tried to put it all into a list. And I was like, oh, I'll do it in alphabetical order. So that way, as people are going through, they'll be like, okay, check. I can look at my map list, figure out where I need to go for these people. And as I was doing it, I don't know if you can see this. It was a full page. And then I was like, that's okay. That's just fine. I'll go on to the back of the other page. So I did that. And I'm like, well, they're not all in order anymore, but they're close. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not done yet. So I had to go onto a third page. So there's a lot of vendors and there is a lot happening there. So I'm going to go through my list. I will try to maybe create a spreadsheet or something that I can put down below in the comments. But let's get going. And before we get started, I would just encourage you, if you enjoy this kind of content and you appreciate all the work that I've done by suffering through all of these beautiful yarn posts for the last couple of weeks, please consider liking and subscribing, share us with a friend, hit that notification bell so that you actually get notifications whenever I post a video. And let's see. So we're going to start with Apple Yarns, A. So Apple Yarns is going to have a free gift early on Saturday, and you'll need to, it's basically available till it's gone. So you'll have to get there for that. So that's Apple Yarns, and they are a local Washington yarn store. Bad Sheep Yarn. I've been really excited about the stuff that I'm seeing from Bad Sheep Yarn. So they have 2 exclusive colorways that are for flock. One is called Sedona Sunset, which is only available on Saturday. So Sedona Sunset on Saturday, and Slow Sundays is available only on Sunday. So you have to go both days if you want both colorways. And I remember the Slow Sundays is a white, like a lighter base with some speckles and some colors on it. And Sedona Sunset, it did remind me of a sunset, like the beautiful colors of a sunset. So make sure you hit those and get those color exclusives if you're interested in that kind of thing. And I think it's going to be on a whole bunch of different bases. So most of these companies are doing their colorways on different bases. So you might find a whole bunch of different. So if you love to do a fingering weight project, or if you're like, my fingers can't handle dealing with anything smaller than a DK, there's DK weights and things like that. There's Surrey alpacas, there's cottons, merinos, linens, all kinds of blends. So if you see something if you hear something that I'm talking about that you think might fit your fancy, go check out their Instagram pages, and they do have a lot of information about it. There's a company called Ballyhura, which is from Ireland, and they'll be here, and they are going to be bringing 2 new colorways. One's called Sea Aster, and the other is Killarney. So make sure you go check out Ballyhura and see what they've got coming on. And then everybody knows and loves Black Pearl Magic and all her fun bags. So she does have a new alchemy tote that combines the vinyl that we love and some of the fabrics that we love that she works so nicely in. So she will have some new alchemy totes. One is unicorns, and the other one is like, I think it's lips and sparkles. So I'm very excited to go see what she has. And I think she said that she was able to now combine the vinyl that she usually works in with actual fabrics. And so some of her bags will be mixes of those. So you can check those out and see what she's been able to create using a new technique. So that will be awesome. Botanical Yarns. So I know that a lot of people were enjoying their colorful booth last year. They're going to have a really awesome exclusive sock set. And it's kind of I think it's a fuchsia color with soft pinks and like an orangey cocoa. Really, really cool. And so that's something that I'm definitely going to be heading to. And Botanical Yarns will also have the Pier 62 shawl kit. So Pier 62 was inspired by the piers of Seattle, and it was designed by Twinset and Pearl. So that's the designer of it. And Botanical Yarn will have kits available at their booth. So go check that out as well. And Camellia Fiber Co. I saw their yarns last year and I loved them. They had some of these just dusty roses that were amazing. And so I'm excited to see what they have coming out this year. They do have a specific color palette just for flock. And so it's going to be like soft blues, coral. I wrote down some notes, coral, rose. And so that should be really, really cool. M to the third, so EM to the third, they have been showing off Labubus. I don't know what a Labubu is, but I've seen a lot of them online, and they are the new Cabbage Patch Kids, so that tells you how old I am. So Labubus and their wardrobes. So they'll have knitted wardrobes for the Labubus and the Labubus as well. So if you're looking at those, and I don't know the difference between a Labubu and a Lafufu, but apparently there's two. So pick what you like. So M to the third is going to have a bunch of Labubu good stuff. Fiona K Knits I've been watching what they're coming out with, and some saturated bold colors. So there's going to be a new collection at Flock called the Midnight Rodeo, and deepest, most saturated bold colors that I've seen in a very long time. So I'm really excited to check out some of those yarns and hopefully find something for maybe a sweater or even a winter long sleeve t-shirt or something like that. So just really amazing colors. Junie and Sai, who is also a local dyer, they are going to have an exclusive colorway this year called Space Age Love Song. And so that will be their exclusive color for this year. And I know they also had an exclusive color last year, so they're kind of continuing their trend of exclusive colors. And some of the new colors they're coming out with, I wrote them down, but there's a ton of them. So there's We Will Become Silhouettes, Magic Power, Let Go, and they have and so those are going to be really cool. And the Space Age Love Story is kind of a blue-brown combination on a light gray base. So it looks really pretty. So check that out. And the Lamb and Kid. So if you are familiar with Bainbridge Island in Washington, that's one of our little island cities, and you can take a ferry from Seattle to get there. There's a couple of great yarn shops there. There is the Lamb and Kid, and then there's La Mercerie. And so La Mercerie is actually, the owner, Jess, is the host of Flock Fiber Festival. So they are the ones that are doing all the heavy lifting to bring that to us. So we're very thankful for that. And the Lamb and Kid is another shop on Mercer Island. They both have such different vibes, but such wonderful, wonderful people, yarn, samples. And so Lamb and Kid is a very vibrant, colorful place. And they are going to be bringing something. They have a new colorway called Duckworth, and it's a very deep teal. So if you think of like a drake, a mallard duck, and some of the dark teals that they have on it, it's dark like that. And so I'm excited to get some of that because I think that'll be great for fall knitting especially. And then, all right, so that's Lamb and Kid. And now Little Wing Fibers, I've been really excited to see what they've been coming up with because they have been coming up with a lot. So they're going to have an exclusive colorway called, I think it's called Little House. And it's kind of a watercolor. Let's see. Yeah, so it's like a watercolor pastel kind of piece, but it's poppy and turquoise and orange and white. So it's not super washed out watercolors. It's kind of bold watercolors, but still a watercolor vibe at the same. And then Little Wing Fibers is also coming out with the Star, the Stardew colorways. There's 6 colors in that. There's going to be a new base, which I'm super excited about. Their new base is going to be called LW, Little Wing Shadow Sock, and it's merino, yak, and silk. So how delicious would that feel for just a luxurious pair of socks? And what a great knit for a holiday gift for somebody. So consider their new base. And also, if you love pink, her Oops All Pink collection will be there as well. All right, and then Nano Stitch Lab, they have a gum wall colorway. So this colorway is exactly what you would think. It looks like the gum wall. So we have a gum wall in Fremont, and they keep trying to clean it off, and people won't let that happen. They just keep redecorating the wall. And so there is an exclusive colorway called Gum Wall. And then Ocean Knits, and it's OSHEN Knits. They are, all I've seen so far is, I don't know if this is the actual color, but OMG, it's a flocking rainbow. So I love the name, and it's going to be updated. So I think it was a colorway they had before, and they're going to update the colorway and make it a little bit different. And then something else called Hot Summer Nights. And so that's something to look forward to as well. And then Pacific Knit Co. So if you know the doodle directory, you know Jamie from Pacific Knit Co. So she's going to be there with like every doodle pack she's ever created, every freestanding doodle. She always has an exclusive doodle for the events. So like at Fiber Fusion, she had one this year that was a bunny. It was super cute. So you get one just for stopping by the booth. And so this year she's going to have a doodle deck, or just a doodle. I'm not sure if it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 cards. But it basically is one that says knit, one that says purl, and one that says yarn. So she'll have an exclusive doodle. Her booth always has just so many wonderful doodle samples, and there's kits and colorways. So you can basically get like a full kit and then customize it with whatever doodle pack you want to. So like they had a set of colorways that was a DK weight, and it was intended for desert. It was kind of deserty colors, but I don't really care for desert theme stuff. And so I got it for a fall doodle pack. So I can do some really beautiful things with that. And it's a very similar colorway. So she will have a ton of stuff. I remember she had some stitch needle stoppers last year. And so her booth is always really popular. make sure you go spend some time. And if you don't have her book, The Doodle Directory, consider getting it. It's pretty cool. Just with lots of stuff that you can put borders, easy to make borders, and some little colorwork pops and things like that. And Plies and Hellhounds. So this is a relatively new to me yarn dyer. Plies and Hellhounds is going to have 3 Seattle themed colorways there. So one's called Union Station, and it's a beautiful green. And there's one Magnesium, which is just a very vibrant purple. I love that one. And finally, Bainbridge, which is a teal, like a rich teal color. So really beautiful stuff coming from Plies and Hellhounds. Let's see, Serial Knitters. So I live in Kirkland, and years ago, Serial Knitters was actually my local yarn shop. And unfortunately, they closed their doors, but she is still an independent dyer. She often has pop-ups at different stores and things like that. And so she is going to be there with her colorway called New Hubby. And so this is a new one. And so New Hubby is kind of a blue, green, and purple, which are my favorite colors. And so putting that together is going to be really cool. And she suffered, I think she broke her leg in early June. And so she's actually been able to get everything ready and still get to flock, even though her mobility is super limited, because she has an amazing village around her. So thanks to the knitting community and just the people that we surround ourselves. So she's going to be able to still be there, and she might be sitting around a lot, but she's definitely going to be working hard, and she's going to be really excited to show you a lot of her work. So I do have a lot of her yarn, and I really have enjoyed working with it and wearing it as well. All right. And then a company called Sewrella, so S-E-W, Rella. They're going to have show colorways. One is called Lake Como, and that's kind of a blue, green, and I think white. And then Summer Sorbet, which is yellows, pinks, whites. So 2 different colorways exclusive for the show. And she's also going to have some of her archive yarn. So if you've had stuff in the past from Sewrella that you've loved, you might see some of it coming back to flock. So she's bringing some of the archive stuff that they haven't sold for a while back to flock. So that's going to be a fun exclusive. And then Swanky Raven. They have I think they're a stitch marker company, and they're going to have new stitch marker sets and a Halloween set. So a very cool Halloween set. And the new stitch marker set has ravens on it, basically like crowns, ravens, sparkly things. So very cool. And I'm excited to get my hands on that one. If you haven't heard of Sincere Fiber Company, they are a dyer with a story. They're a dyer that kind of, when you say they weave a yarn, they weave a tale, and they've been introducing colorways from their group. They basically have a new collection called the Fear Collection. And every day that they've introduced a new color, there's actually been a poem that goes along with it. And it's very evocative of darkness and thrills and things that kind of go bump in the night. And the colors are beautiful, just very dark and moody. And I can see so many beautiful sweaters being made out of these colorways. So check out their Fear collection. And then Wild Rose Farm. So if you were at Flock last year, this was the company that brought you the cute little lambs. So they will have lambs again. So make sure you put Wild Rose Farm on your list of places to see. Plus they have some gorgeous yarns that come straight from these sheep that you'll be seeing. And so it's a great way to support local farms. And then let's see, Witchfire Fibers. She's gonna have some limited stitch markers, and she basically says if you wear something in dry dock, which I believe was her exclusive colorway from last year's flock, you have to be wearing it, not pulling it out of your bag, but actually wearing something that's primarily made with her color dry dock, or Elberdritchel, which I think was by ZZ Textiles. So they'll be in the same booth sharing the space. So if you wear something in either of those, there's a gift for you. And then they will also have new bases, and there's an exclusive yarn and fiber called Market Bouquet, which is really, if you think of a flower bouquet, it's those colors. It's got the greens, the yellows, the blues, the purples. It's just like, it's like wildflowers, either on yarn or on fiber. So she's gonna have those there. Yarn Nouveau will be back this year. They have a huge tote, some new colorways that they're bringing. I actually, last year I was introduced to Yarn Nouveau at Flock, and I did buy a sweaters quantity that I'm going to use to make my Andrew Mowry weekender. And so I've swatched for that one, and I'm looking forward to digging in and getting that. That's one of my next up kind of things. And then the company Yarn Story, they are actually going to be giving away a sweaters quantity. So make sure you stop by their booth, figure out how you enter to win. And they're a company also coming from England. So they're coming a long way to support those of us in the Pacific Northwest. All right, that was just the first page. So here we go. Explorer Knits. They're going to have tonals on 6 different bases. So beautiful tonals on 6 different bases. Red Door Fiber Shop will have 12 colorways, 2 mini sets, and 3 colors of fiber. So bats of fiber that you can actually use for spinning. The company Yarn Matter. So they have a new Luxe DK base, which anytime you tell me Luxe, I'm in it to win it. And colors, some new colors called, and let's see, they have Agate, Vintage, Aegean, Dusk, and their flock colorway is called Dragon Dance. So Dragon Dance is their flock colorway, and it's kind of a teal and gold. They're also bringing back Twilight, which is a deep smoky purple, so it is gorgeous. The company Yarn Fun has a Pike Place colorway. So if you're familiar with Seattle, you know Pike Place is our big outdoor market, which is actually kind of indoor because you can't do a lot outdoor here in Seattle all the time. And then Fangirl Fibers. So they are all Twilight. There was so much Twilight from Fangirl Fibers, and I loved it because it's basically all quotes from the books. And so one's called It's the Fluorescence, and it's the color of Edward the vampire. It's kind of a silvery blue. And then, oh, you do smell good, Alice Cullen says. And it's a blood red, like it's the smell of blood. Forks, Washington is a bunch of greens. Hoa Hoa Season is teals, blues, and whites. And then they have La Push Baby La Push, which is a sandy tan. And Don't Hate the Truck, which is a red-black combo. So just like, I think it was her truck back in when she was living in Forks and going to school. Fiber Hustle. So last year I was introduced to Fiber Hustle. They are super fun. So they dye a lot of colorways based on music. So the music that they love, and they actually listen to the music while they're dyeing the yarn. And so I think I mentioned on my last podcast, I got yarn from them that was called Beauty and the Beat. And it was basically a Go-Go's colorway from their first album that had like light blues and pinks and a little bit of light beiges and stuff, and mimicking the look of all of the girls on the cover with their face masks on and their towels. And so since that was the very first album I ever got, I had to get the yarn to go with it. So I got that on a sock base. And so they're coming back this year, and they'll have Jagged Little Skein, which you can imagine is based on Alanis Morissette's album Jagged Little Pill. They have a Benny and the Jets colorway, so from Elton John's Yellow Brick Road. And they have a Flock exclusive chip bag. So if you haven't seen the chip bags, they're kind of structured bags. And I'm not super familiar with them, but I saw what they were showing. And if you do buy one of their exclusive chip bags, you also get a lavender sachet. So everything you buy will smell like wool and lavender, which is the best smells. 360 Dye Studio is going to have sock blanks, I guess they're called, with some hand dyed with flowers. And so you can use these sock blanks, and basically it's just a knitted up flat that they've done some art on, and then as you undo it and you knit with it, those pieces of art become part of the sock, the way you're doing it. So they are going to have some sock blanks that are dyed with flowers. Skein in the Stitch, they're going to have new colorways called the Yorkshire Collection, so look for them. Hide and Hammer will be there, and they have some exclusive ice dyed canvas bags. So the ice dyeing is really cool. I've actually done it one time, and it was really actually quite fun. And so they're going to have their bags there. And let's see, so Make Wool Friends is where you get to go try out the weaving. So if you want to try weaving out for the first time, go to Make Wool Friends. And Spin Cycle is going to be debuting a new colorway. So we all know and love Spin Cycle. They are a local Washington dyer as well. And so they're going to have a new colorway called Tough Love coming out. And the inspiration is the inside of an abalone shell. So it's got that iridescent colors with some pinks and some blues. And so it's kind of a pastel teal mint pink kind of vibe. So that'll be debuted, I think, on all of their bases on at Flock. And finally, Craft Among Friends. So there's a group of dyers and yarn lovers who got together from last year, and they created kind of their own little collective. And so they're doing a scavenger hunt. So if you go to any of their booths, you'll get a postcard. It's basically like your passport. And then you'll go around to each of their booths, and as you go, you'll visit, and you'll get a little punch. And when you do all of it, you're entered to win for a prize. And so that's kind of a fun way. And these are friends that came from a fiber festival. So they met at a fiber festival. They decided they wanted to spend more time together. And so that's what they're ultimately doing. So that is the Craft Among Friends. And so look for I think there's 9 different booths you can go to start the adventure. So that is a great thing to do. So that's a lot. And I know your hands are probably moving really, really fast. You're writing down all of the amazing things. I suggest you go to Instagram or the websites for these specific vendors to see what they're going to have available if you want to actually see the colors, because I know my descriptions aren't necessarily as amazing as these colorways are, for sure. So check those out. And then I did want to give you a quick update. I'm working on, so remember I talked about last time, I was working on my outline tee by Jessie Maed Designs. I'm still working on that. And I was crazy when I thought I would be done with it in time for Flock. So this is what I have so far. It's the bottom of the tee. I have 11 inches done so far. And so I'm making it a little longer than the pattern recommends because I don't like that much of a crop top. So I think I have to go for another 1/2 inch, and then I actually get to start building each of the front and back panels. And putting the sleeves and stuff like that. So, I mean, who knows? I have 4 days by the time this is being filmed. So if you know how I love to work under a deadline, so I may do it, I may not do it, but either way, I'm having a great time with it. And I have done, I think the last time I filmed, I think it was last week, actually, this stitch marker right here is where I started. And so that was Wednesday of last week. And so I've gone to here and it's Monday. So I'm making some progress. This is faster than I normally knit. And so, like I said, maybe I'm turning a corner. Maybe I'm actually becoming a fast knitter. It's probably more, I'm a monogamous knitter, and that's really helping a lot. So if you stayed this long, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be best friends one day, if we're not already. And I hope you'll tune in next time, and we'll do a little bit more of a standard podcast next time where we talk about all kinds of things, whips, FOs, things like that. Otherwise, have a great time at any fiber festival you're heading to, whether it's something in the US, something abroad. Enjoy it. And hopefully I'll meet you in person at one of them. Take care.